to talk about this machine right here. It's the Huina 1594. Plastic boom, metal bucket, metal tracks. These are all electronic screw servos. I've done a few modifications that I think are really important in order to get this thing better than what it already is. That being said, this machine does not need any modifications to do very, very well. I had this thing scraping through decomposed granite in the driest conditions that you can imagine. It was probably 105 when I started running this thing. It did phenomenal. Me being me, couldn't leave it alone, so I had to start modifying it. Before you start modifying this, know that you will not have any sort of warranty once you start tearing into this thing. If you want to do this, you have to run that risk. If you don't want to run that risk, don't modify it. The very first mod that I did was a light. It cost about $16. The screws go through the grate on the top. Putting a light on the front of this thing was the very first thing I did because I'm impatient. I wanted to run this thing at night. There may have been beer involved. That was the very first mod that I did. The second mod is more of a removal. I removed the sound module. This hole right here will eventually have a small fan. I'm sure some of you have noticed that I have a bunch of these silver things in here. These are 1/4 ounce wheel weights, and they just stick on. They have a little adhesive there. They cost 12 bucks for a whole pack. I wanted to add a little bit more weight to the back end here just so I could lift some heavier things and not tip over. Now for the good stuff. These are the modifications that you're probably looking for. I'll show you exactly what I've done. Now in here, you can see that there's these little endpoints, or they're cutoffs. So basically, the arm goes down. It pushes a button, which will cut the power so you can no longer pull the boom in any further, and that way it doesn't damage the arm or damage anything else. So if that button is pushed, it will not go in that certain direction. Now you're gonna have one up here as well. You see, once that button gets pushed, it stops. What I've done is I filed down the tops of these buttons. Also, there's 2 ridges on either side here that you will have to file down in order to get this boom to articulate as far as one does. There is one on the back side as well. So you can see I've filed down the top of the button. I also filed down the ridges. That has allowed the arm to articulate up further. This one articulates down much further. It's actually almost touching, may even be touching. I might have gone a little bit too far with that filing. So do be careful. You don't want to file it down too much. You will get it so it doesn't hit that endpoint. And if it does that, you will damage your arm. This is plastic. If you don't damage the arm, you're going to damage your screw servos, and you don't want that. So be careful when you're filing it. Make sure you're paying attention, taking small bits off. Don't do long sessions of filing. Take your time. The reason that we did that modification is to bring the stick much further in. Now you can see that is past 90 degrees. It is significantly closer. So this bucket, it will touch the tracks. So if you turn this, put this down. If you're going to scoop, just be very careful with the tracks. Now for the final and probably my favorite mod so far. This one's a little bit more, I don't want to say intense, but it's definitely more involved. I trimmed this back too far. I didn't need to go that far. Now there's a gap. I'm gonna have to fill that with something, but there's a little extra ridge that sits down further. This one right here, that's perfectly fine. What I've done is I've evened that out. This usually protrudes a little bit further down, and that will actually rest on top of this plastic bit when the boom is full up. It's resting on there. I did get a little bit close with that, but I can take more off. But what you have to do in order to get this boom to travel further up is relocate the stopper magnet. It's tough to see because of the lighting, but it's normally about 4 millimeters, 5 millimeters to the left. Now you will have to actually sand this down. There is a little pocket it sits in, but if you sand it down, you can glue the magnet anywhere you like. I have to relocate mine because the arm's going too high, but it's fairly simple. Just, you got to make sure you grind that down so you can relocate it. There's a controller inside of here with a reed switch that it effectively does what these do. It's just an endpoint. The endpoint actually rotates to the magnet. It will stop. It will effectively, it disconnects the power to this motor. And the reason why you want that is so this motor here doesn't keep trying to lift the boom up and butt up against this reasonably hard plastic. You will destroy your gears, you'll burn out the motor, and you could definitely do some damage here. These are pretty decent little motors, or they're just geared so they're a lot stronger than they normally are. But this is probably the best one. Best mod that I've done is relocating this. It gets the boom way higher. Well, I hope this helped you out. I've certainly enjoyed messing around with this thing. I mean, oh, I think my endpoint's messed up, so you gotta be careful with that magnet placement. But I've really enjoyed modifying this, and even just playing around with it. It's been super great. It doesn't really need any modifications. I don't know why I'm like this, but I thoroughly enjoy it. I hope that you got some good information about this. I have a few more plans, and I'll make sure to document those. There's very few videos or very little information about this particular Huina. I know that for the 1550 there's a ton of stuff, and previous models there are quite a few videos and different things and parts out there, so I'm going to test them to see if they'll actually work on this. Thanks for watching.